Welcome, everyone, to the NoDQ.com live recap of AEW Dynamite for Wednesday, January 8th, 2025. Shout out to everybody watching this, whether it's live or on demand. Either way, I appreciate your viewership and support. Let's get down to the Dynamite recap. We kicked off the show right away with in-ring action. Will Ospreay going up against Buddy Matthews. Ospreay came up short in the Continental Classic at World's End. He was not on Dynamite last week. Figured coming back here, this was a way for him to pick up a win and rebound from that loss at World's End. Now, the match technically was really good. The only problem I had with it was that I did not believe for a second that Buddy Matthews was going to win this match. I felt very confident that Ospreay would pick up a win, but of course they have to do their banger, so it's a lengthy match with these two. Evenly matched. Buddy got in a lot of offense. He did a dive to the outside, and then he got Ospreay back in the ring. Came off the top with the Meteora. Ospreay, of course, kicked out. Then they were both on the apron. Buddy was able to counter the Oz Cutter. He sent Ospreay off the apron onto the announce table. Ospreay then recovered, gave Buddy a cutter on the floor. Then he got back in the ring, hit another cutter. Buddy kicked out. Buddy got hit with the hidden blade. He kicked out again. Buddy looking strong here. Buddy was able to regain the upper hand. He delivered the stomp, but of course Ospreay kicked out. And then Ospreay countered Buddy with the Styles Clash. Once again, Buddy kicked out, but then Ospreay was finally able to pin him with another hidden blade. Match was predictable, but very solid. And then after the match, this was actually more interesting to me than the match, because afterwards, Ospreay got on the mic. He praised Buddy Matthews, and he made it clear Matthews doesn't need to be following a leader. Matthews can do it on his own. Same thing with Brody King. And Ospreay said if Buddy needs somebody in his corner, Ospreay was willing to be that guy. Now, this once again got people speculating, is Malachi Black gone? Are they disbanding the House of Black? Every time we speculate on Malachi Black, he's always going on social media saying it's not true, he's not going anywhere. Remember, he lost to Adam Cole a few months ago, and Adam Cole put him over. But Malachi Black has barely been around. There was a report a couple months ago that his contract was going to be up in early 2025, and now the rumors are starting to start up again. They're starting to start up again. Great vocabulary there, Aaron. Nice job. But I'm here to explain wrestling, not have the best vocabulary. Buddy Matthews, he gets pushed, then he doesn't get pushed. I agree with the comment in the chat room about him being underrated. I don't really know if it's going to amount to anything, but Ospreay did his best to put over Buddy Matthews. And as far as Malachi Black goes, we'll see if he puts out another statement. He does have an independent wrestling event coming up this weekend. We'll see what he says at that event. I don't know if Buddy's going to be elevated from this. I don't know if Brody King's going to be elevated. Same thing with Julia Hart. Like, they all seem to be good in a group, but the AEW roster, it's very large. It's crowded. And when you're not in a group, it can sometimes be difficult to stand out if you're not a Tony Khan favorite. So the jury is out on this one. We had a video package recapping the weekend. AEW was in Japan for the New Japan Pro Wrestling Wrestle Dynasty pay-per-view. We had clips from that. Kenny Omega coming back to the ring, and AEW was hyping him up for the main event segment. His return to Dynamite. We'll talk more about that in a few moments. Private Party came out on the stage. They're the tag team champions, and they were talking about their Collision tag team title win, but then they were interrupted by the Hurt Syndicate. MVP said that they're not always about business. They wanted to raise a toast to Private Party, but then Lashley said they're raising a toast because they're going to take the tag team titles from Private Party. And then Bobby Lashley headed to the ring for his match, going up against Mark Briscoe. MVP was on commentary. Lashley was dominating, and Mark Briscoe actually had to bend the rules a little bit. He used a steel chair from under the ring, which the referee did not see. Creative, I will say that. And Mark Briscoe, he was biting Lashley. MVP was pissed off on commentary, and then Briscoe sent him into the post, got him back in the ring, came off the top with the froggy bow, but Lashley kicked out at 1. And then Lashley recovered, hit the spear, put on the hurt lock, and got the win. I'm a little surprised that Lashley looked so dominant here. I thought it's AEW. They always got to do their bangers, competitive matches, but this was really what it needed to be. Bobby Lashley more or less was dominant over Mark Briscoe, and Mark Briscoe did get in some offense, had to push things a little bit using the chair and whatnot. But yeah, I actually thought this was what they needed to do with Bobby Lashley. But why is he in a tag team title match? That I'm a little confused about. After the match was over, they continued the attack. Shelton Benjamin was in there, and then Private Party ran down and made the save. Really, shouldn't you get somebody else in the Hurt Syndicate to be Shelton Benjamin's partner and let Lashley go for the main title or something like that? I don't know. I'm a little confused about that, but I do like how this match played out, giving Lashley a good win over Mark Briscoe and not making it a 12-minute back and forth banger where Briscoe's kicking out of a spear and kicking out of all sorts of things and getting out of the hurt lock. They didn't do any of that. So for that, I did think this was a good match and segment. We had our Casino Gauntlet match with the winner getting a world title opportunity on next week's Dynamite, which is Maximum Carnage. Not the video game, but a special episode of Dynamite. We started off with Jay White and Hangman Adam Page, and then Wheeler Yuta. Wheelie came in. He was immediately hit with the Blade Runner, and then Adam Page broke up the pin attempt. Then we had Swerve's music hit, Swerve Strickland's music, but it was a swerve. It was actually Ricochet taunting everybody. I liked this. I thought it was a nice little thing to do here. Ricochet came in the ring, and then Adam Cole entered. Daniel Garcia, the TNT champion, and then Powerhouse Hobbs came in. Hobbs got in the ring, started throwing everybody around. He was dominating. We had some more entrants. Roderick Strong, Lance Archer. He went at it with Hobbs, and the crowd was chanting meat. Then Kyle O'Reilly came in, and then the last person was Double J Jeff Jarrett on his farewell tour, but he was attacked from behind by Wheelie before he could even get in the ring, and Wheelie fought with him to the back, so Jarrett was robbed of his world title opportunity by Wheelie. And then we got a surprise. At least I was surprised. Will Hobbs pinned Kyle O'Reilly with the spine buster and got the victory to earn a title match on next week's Dynamite. I'll be damned. Hobbs is getting a world title match. And then afterwards, He cut a promo. He said he's going to shock the wrestling world next week and make Jon Moxley his bitch. Now, I got more to say on Hobbs, so we'll get to that in just a moment. Jeff Jarrett shook hands with Hobbs and then got into the ring and cut a promo in the ring. But before he could really say much, MJF interrupted. MJF got in the ring, said he does want his Triple B back, but it's a lot of work right now. And he said nobody is worthy of holding his title. He said maybe Jeff Jarrett is an exception, but the clock is ticking. And then MJF revealed that Jeff Jarrett, his new contract is only for 1 more year. Geez, I wonder where we've heard that before. But anyways, MJF said he wants to help out Jeff Jarrett, but he needs a favor. If he helps Jeff Jarrett win the world title, then MJF gets the first crack at the championship. So basically, MJF is being lazy. He wants to help Jeff Jarrett win so then he can beat the old guy and get the title. It's an MJF thing to do, I guess. It was an interesting segment. I will say that. MJF is going to be feuding with Big G's favorite now. MJF and Jeff Jarrett, it's interesting. Seems like filler for MJF, but I'm curious to see where it goes. And then Jarrett responded. He called MJF a one-hit wonder, said MJF could have entered the gauntlet, but decided to try and do this scheme instead. But Jarrett was not buying what MJF was selling, and he left the ring. He called MJF an entitled prick, and that was it. Shout out to Derek, who sent in a $2 super chat. Hope you're doing well, Derek. Says MJF never loses his touches. Great heel. MJF did really well on the mic, and I'm definitely happy that he's starting to get mic time again. I just really want to see him at the top of the card and not in these middle storylines. But you know what? MJF, Jeff Jarrett, it's something different. Hopefully MJF beats Jeff Jarrett handedly and then moves on. But it's a nice little side storyline right now. I really don't have a problem with it if it's just something temporary to get MJF to a bigger feud in a couple months while they do whatever they're going to do with Jon Moxley right now. We had Adam Copeland come into the ring, back-to-back promo segments, which is rare for Dynamite. Adam Copeland talked about Jon Moxley, and he said that Moxley and the Death Riders made a mistake by going after his boys, the Death Riders. Copeland said there's really nothing that can be done to him that hasn't been done before. He broke his neck in a match with Eddie Guerrero. He broke his leg against Malachi Black last year. The Death Riders showed up, and they were willing to put that to the test and see if they could do something different. But fortunately for Cope, FTR was there, and we had a brawl with all these people. And then Marina Shafir got involved. Death Riders had the upper hand, and they got the plastic bag. They were going to use the plastic bag. But then, thankfully for Adam Copeland, he had some more help. Powerhouse Hobbs came down. Death Riders escaped. And now I'm going to use this moment to give my hot take. Listen, I do not care about a world title match between Jon Moxley and Adam Copeland. Maybe 4 or 5 years ago, if they were both in WWE or Copeland went straight to AEW in 2019, might have been a hot match. But now, this is not what AEW needs. People say, how can you turn AEW around? Make new stars. Next week, shake up the world. Will Hobbs beats Adam Copeland, or not Adam Copeland. He should beat Adam Copeland too. But next week, Will Hobbs beats Jon Moxley for the AEW World title. It's not going to happen. I say it's highly unlikely in all likelihood. But AEW needs a shakeup. We need a holy shit moment. And I say strap the rocket to somebody. Is Will Hobbs the guy? I don't know, but I think he's got potential. He's one of their better choices. He's a beast. He looks the part of a top guy. We need a shocker. They need somebody to just explode to the top and be a major player. I say Will Hobbs is worth taking that chance on. Hell, you could do something similar to when Mankind won the title from The Rock. You have the interference from the Death Riders. Adam Copeland comes out there, evens the odds, and then Will Hobbs beats him. He beats Moxley, wins the title, and you could still do Moxley versus Copeland. It doesn't need to be for the title. And you can endorse Will Hobbs as the guy in AEW. I don't think it's going to happen. But how do they turn AEW around? Well, you have to try. You have to put the rocket on somebody new. They need new stars. And I'm not just talking about a star. They need a superstar. They need a guy who could be the face of the company, who can come out there and he could be the flagship. He can come out there, sign the autographs, make the TV appearances, the media appearances. Will Hobbs could be that guy. I say go for it. I don't think they're going to do it, though. I really don't think they're going to do it. But I did want to throw that out there in the universe. I was surprised that Hobbs won. And I was thinking, they're probably going to go with Adam Page or Jay White, something like that. They actually went to Will Hobbs. And yeah, they're probably not, and they can come up with any reason they want. He's injury prone. He doesn't have enough experience. Whatever. But AEW is never going to be able to build their audience unless they can make new stars. So we'll see. Let's move on here. We had a three-way match. Toni Storm versus Chris Statlander versus Willow Nightingale. It was a competitive match with all three of them. This was to determine who will get the number one spot in next week's women's Casino Gauntlet match. And the winner of that will be going on to the Australia show, the Grand Slam Australia. Good match here with the three of them. Willow got in a lot of offense, which pretty much tells you she's not winning the match. She hit the pounce to Statlander, and then she took them both out with a cannonball, and then she German suplexed both of them at the same time. And then Chris Statlander started to build momentum. She got Willow out of the ring, and then she pinned Toni Storm with the Saturday Night Fever. People were surprised at this one. I figured Statlander was probably taking. Well, no, I figured Willow would likely take the fall considering how much offense she got in the match, but it was actually Toni Storm. Now, I think there was a good reason for this. I have an idea of where this is going. So after the match was over, Toni Storm was interviewed, and she said, clearly she's not ready. She has to keep working hard. She can't always win. And she said, it can't be Toni time all the time. Something tells me we might not see Toni time next week. But there is Timeless Toni. Maybe she shows up next week as Timeless Toni, wins the casino match, and then it is, in fact, Timeless Toni Storm versus Mariah May at Grand Slam Australia, which is what I was predicting all along. I think Toni Storm is still winning it, but this definitely feels like a setup for her to revert back to Timeless Toni. So we'll see what happens on next week. So I like what they did here because it does make me a little bit intrigued. I think Toni's winning regardless, but does seem like this is going to be the moment she reverts back to Timeless Toni. And shout out to Ash. Thank you for your comments there. I'm always looking for new ways to expand the channel, so any suggestions, very much appreciated. Kenny Omega came to the ring, his first time back on AEW Dynamite since he had to leave because he got diverticulitis. And he brought up how serious it was, how he would have died if he didn't check himself into the hospital. He said it's been a roller coaster ride to come back. He had doubts if he would be able to come back, but after consider quitting, he realized that he needs to be in the ring to be truly living. And he said the new version of Kenny Omega is going to prove that he is still the god of professional wrestling. But before he could really say a whole lot more, Don Callis showed up. Kenny was having none of this. He went right after Don Callis, but then he got jumped by the staging area. Lance Archer, Brian Cage attacked him. Kyle Fletcher joined in, and they attacked him in the abdomen. And before they were going to deliver some really serious damage, Will Ospreay made the save for his old rival, Kenny Omega. He had the chair. He teased like he was going to use the chair on Omega, but he didn't. And then we had a little face-off between them. And it was confirmed that next week, Brian Cage will be the first guy fed to Kenny Omega. That takes place on next week's Dynamite. We got the Women's Battle Royal. All in all, it was a solid show. I don't think it was spectacular or anything, and it was a lot of build-up for next week. But it wasn't a bad show. It was a fairly enjoyable watch. Solid Dynamite. A few surprises like Will Hobbs winning the Gauntlet match. I give the show a 6 out of 10. 6 points. Pretty solid. Slightly above average. I am intrigued about a few things for next week. But if they really want me to feel good about AEW, like I said, I think you have to shock the world and do something people are not expecting. I want to tune into Dynamite and have no idea what's going to happen. So if Will Hobbs somehow won the title, I would feel like, hey, anything can happen if you tune into AEW Dynamite. I don't think it's going to happen, though. But we'll see what happens next week. Maximum Carnage is on next week's Dynamite. Thank you guys so much for tuning into the Dynamite recap this week. If you enjoyed the video, please give it a thumbs up on the No DQ YouTube channel. Spread the word about NoDQ.com. Check out No DQ for the latest wrestling news and rumors. And I will be back Friday night after SmackDown with a recap of the show. So tune in for that. Subscribe, youtube.com/Aaron Riff No DQ, or easier URL, nodq.com/YouTube. Take care, everybody. Enjoy the rest of your week. Say yes to nodq.com, and I will see you all next time.